Hi, I'm Matt from Interformula, and welcome to our Research and Development Centre. We do all forms of research and development, all the way from designing and developing our own race cars, to simulators, to running cars in racing series and rallying all over the world. We also do a lot in the Asian Classic Car Championship, so do look out for us. For any information, do contact us with the number down below.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the post-race show. Round 3 of the Adrenaline Impact iRacing Malaysia Championship was this Sunday at the Charlotte Roval on the 16th, and we had an absolutely electric race going down. I'm your host for this evening, Matthew Palmer. With me today is Kelvin T and our steward, Paduka Shoaib Hassan. Say hi, guys.
Hi. Hi, gang. Selamat malam semua.
Alrighty, and just before we begin, a special word of thanks to our sponsors: Works Engineering, Lucas Oil, Precision Sim Racing, Android King, and our supporter for this season, the Motorsports Association of Malaysia. And we also have a few extra sponsors, as you can see on the screen fairly shortly there: Todak Motorsports, Pico Studios, Street.my, Simology, Oregon Engineering, and Interformula. A special thanks to those guys who helped the whole show stay on the road. So now we head over to the podium, and after an absolutely exciting race, we have Ilham Hlabi on the top step of the podium for Todak Motorsports. He takes home a product voucher worth 100 ringgit from Precision Sim Racing as his prize for taking that P1 spot. In second place, the man who is leading for a very long time. He led from pole and unfortunately just couldn't quite get there in time. Arif Roslan for SSAD Go Racing Gen Y. He takes home the 50 ringgit Works Engineering product voucher for P2. And Kelvinder Singh for the Android King Toda SSAD finally nails in that podium result that he's been looking all season. And he takes home a product voucher, appropriately enough, 50 ringgit from Android King. And over to the top 10 points position standings for the drivers. Jezrin Jali is currently in the lead of the championship for Outer House FCR Performance Team A, followed by Ilham Hlabi in Todak Motorsports in second. 75 points, plays 71. It's going to be a very, very close season indeed. Dominic Ang for Team URT Black is not too far behind with 60 points in third place. So if the top two guys have any issues, Dominic would be right there to claim the lead of the championship. In fourth is Muhammad Hafiz Kamaruddin, aka Michael Hafiz. He's the next Todak Motorsports driver on the list, followed by Ruben Wong for Team URT Pink, Zafri Zainuddin for Todak Motorsports Asia, Afizul Jai for Android King, Arif Roslan for SSAD, and Nazmi Mazli and Eddie Adrian, 9th and 10th for the Padawan SRC B and Padawan SRC A teams, respectively. And speaking of the teams, Todak Motorsports is now currently in the lead of the championship, 125 points. And they're they're not very well clear of second place. Outer House FCR Performance Team A had to reread that for a second there. Less than 10 points separate those two teams, so it looks like it's going to be a very, very fierce battle for the lead of the team's championship. And Todak Motorsports Asia is in third place with 80 points, followed by Team URT Pink, Android King, Todak SSAD, Padawan SRC B, SSAD Go Racing Gen Y, Team URT Black, Outer House FCR Performance Team B, Padawan SRC A, Dante's Todak Motorsports, and in 12th place Team URT Black Pink. And And now for our very special guest to do a new segment in the post-race show, the Kelvin T and his race analysis.
Hello, hi.
So, Kelvin, I understand you've been looking through all of the data and all of the video footage from the last round, and you come across with some rather interesting talking points indeed.
Yes, indeed. I've been sitting in the commentary box. Sometimes we just have the first-hand view of what immediately happens on track. But actually, there are a lot of things that we as a viewer do not see as well. So going through the review, the replay, we do see quite a fair bit of interesting things happening through the field, through the entire race. I would say things that we can pick up alone just by viewing through some of the replays is more than enough to populate the events list, making it much more interesting than the Spanish F1 Grand Prix that happened over the weekend, actually. So, for those of you still watching Formula One, myself included, we might want to be changing over to AIMC instead.
Yeah, definitely a far, far better series in my humble opinion. But then again, I might just be a little bit biased. Muhammad Mazli there says hi. So hi to all of you guys down there. Do leave a comment down below. And while you're there, hit that like button and share it with your friends and spread that sim racing love around.
All right. So let's go into the first the first event that we have here. This is basically at the race start. Very good race start that we have here. Incident number one, event number one that we have. Through the entire field, basically the cars were going through very cleanly. And as you can see here, the current leader, Arif Roslan, has a good start and definitely delivered a getaway performance that is super clean. However, this extends to the end of the field as well. As we can see here, the analysis of Azril Nazli, which is driving car number 35, if I'm not wrong. Sorry, 667, car number 667 of Azril Nazli. As you can see here, doing a very clean move, going off track in order to avoid certain incidents and resulting in a very clean getaway for all on track. So this is the type of exciting racing and yet controlled aggression that we see from the drivers, demonstrating good awareness, respect and sportsmanship to leave each other room at the beginning of the race, where everything and expectations and tensions and the desire to get going is at its highest. This is where we see the high level of sportsmanship that we have in the league here, and that is why the clean, exciting racing that we deliver here at AIMC, this is definitely something that we want to keep an eye on. And as you can see here, as Azril pulled off to the side of the track, he does not immediately gun the throttle, rather he seats himself back safely at the side of the turn, waiting for the cars to catch up with him, ensuring that no incident, no huge crashes are happening at the end of the tail of the entire grid of cars. So that is very, very, very admirable indeed from the car driver 667 of Azril Nazli.
Absolutely, and you can see that not only the high level of sportsmanship, but the situational awareness of Azril Nazli. He knew that 4 cars wasn't going to fit into the final chicane very well, so he decided that discretion is the better part of valor, and you must have to have quite a lot of spare mental capacity to have that decision, because speaking from personal experience, when you're at the start of the race, you really just want to gun into it and get into that battle as soon as possible. But sometimes you just have to sort of leave second best, pick your battles out just a little bit and make sure you're in a safe position, because nobody wins the race from the first lap. So very smart driving there from Azril Nazli. So for our steward Paduka Syed, apa pandangan insiden dengan Azril Nazli ni mengelakkan insiden?
Okey, ini memang satu teladan yang baik yang patut dicontohi oleh pelumba-pelumba lain, di mana kita sedia maklum yang Azril Nazli ni memang experienced driver dan dia memang terlibat juga dalam perlombaan yang sebenar juga, and then kerap turun ke track day. So dia tahu macam mana dia tak nak merosakkan perlombaan di awal tu. Jadi dia ambil pilihan mana dia mengelak dan dia cut track tu supaya tak ada insiden yang berlaku disebabkan oleh diri dia. And then yang buat lagi tambah kata sportsmanship tu, dia walaupun dia memintas shortcut, tapi dia tetap bagi orang di belakang yang sepatutnya di belakang di depan dia tu pintas dia semula. Satu teladan yang baik lah. So kita mengharapkan pelumba-pelumba lain dapat contohi apa yang dilakukan oleh Azrin Nazli.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan macam Paduka cakap tadi, just to recap, it shows the sportsmanship of Azril there. He's got a lot of experience in real life motorsports, and he just decided to not ruin anyone else's race, not ruin the start of the race. And also, if you notice here, he did give back the positions he gained, just to make sure that he's still basically driving to fair play sort of rules and sportsmanship. So very well done from him.
Yeah, that's right. Right, so moving on, I think there's a lot of incidents, a lot of events to highlight here, and as we can see here, this is basically incident number 2 that we want to highlight. This is where we actually entered the first hot lap, and everyone was actually driving very fast, going through, but unfortunately, as you can see on the screen, there was an incident, a huge hit that happened with a car in front. And here we just want to highlight 2 drivers, Nigel Tra of car number 15 and Wicked Low of car number 28. They had the awareness and vision to spot a huge wreck ahead and adjusted their lines calmly through the high-speed chicane, which is not easy at all. Granted, they are actually all gunning at full speed, and this is the first lap, trying to make up positions, but also had the vision to look far ahead to lift their car and also avoid the wreck that happened right in front of them. So this helped avoiding causing a bigger wreck and incidents for the train of cars following closely behind. So this is actually a very good example of vision, looking through your car's windshield across and into the cars ahead of you, even ahead of your direct competitor. So this is absolutely very good awareness and vision from both of them.
Absolutely. A lot of times I've been asked, I've been asked and I've taught this to a lot of young racing drivers. The question always arises, where do you look on the road? And this is something you can take into your daily driving schedule, driving to work or to school or to university or whatever. Race drivers, by and large, they want to look as far ahead as possible. And this is something that can improve your abilities on the road as well. And this is just a rather, one can say, very extreme example of this in effect. They were both aware of what was happening ahead of them, and instead of panicking, instead of having to slam on the brakes, they just made the correct amount of steering input and lifting off the throttle just to make sure that they avoid the incident. So I guess the lesson, my takeaway from this is that Nigel Cho and Wicked Low here, along with a lot of the drivers around them as well, you do sort of have to look as far ahead as you can, just to try and anticipate what's going to happen on the road ahead. So Paduka, apa pandangan dengan insiden ini?
Okay, sebagai seorang pelumba, memang kita tekankan bab safety. So first ni memang safety ni memang paling utama lah. Dalam briefing driver sekalipun, kalau dekat dunia yang sebenar pun, benda pertama yang dia cakap adalah safety. Dia tak cakap menang dulu, dia tak cakap menang, dia tak cakap champion, dia tak cakap itu, dia cakap safety first. So driver memang dia perlukan apa orang kata, lebih pemandangan, lebih luas. Dia bukan tengok pada depan dia saja, dia kena tengok 4-5 kereta di hadapan dia lagi.
Yeah.
Dia kena jauhkan lagi pemandangan dia, dan dia kena luaskan lagi dia punya mata tu. Dia tak boleh tumpu pada corner yang depan tu saja. Dia kena lepas pada corner tu apa yang akan berlaku. Dia dah kena bersedia dah. Dan mengelak ni dia tak boleh letak sebagai alasan. Mengelak ni kita memang kena elak sebabnya ianya melibatkan safety kita juga. So kalau takkan kita just hanya berserah, yang itu part yang lain lah. Kalau dah betul-betul dekat tu 0.5 second tu memang tak boleh nak elak apalah. Tapi kalau masih lagi ada jarak, and then sempat untuk dia mengelak, dapat tengok tadi situasi yang berlaku ni. So itu adalah satu benda yang harus ada di dalam diri setiap pelumba. Iaitu safety lah.
Yeah. And just to recap what Lucas said there, the first thing you do when you learn how to become a racing driver, when you try and take that test, the first thing they teach you is safety. Not about winning, not about becoming the Formula One world champion. It's all about safety. Safety first. And just like I was saying just now, Paducah recommends that not only do you look far ahead, but try and sort of broaden your horizon, so to speak, and try and take in as much visual information as possible, because that is going to be key in being able to avoid incidents like this. Granted, you won't be able to avoid all of them, but you can't use that as an excuse to not try and avoid incidents as well, because it's your safety as well as the safety of the other racers. And this is something you can also take on the road as well. It's safety when it's driving any sort of vehicle anywhere. It's all about taking safety into your hands and being proactive.
All right, so going on to the next incident here. This actually happened a little bit behind the main incident at number 2, which is the same accident that happened at the bus stop chicane. Now, bearing in mind, we are looking at these cars from an outside external camera, so it might look a little bit normal to us. I mean, we might be driving on the street and we feel that, yeah, you know, cars move at these kind of speeds. But moving into a cockpit view, we can see a lot of these drivers, they're actually at full throttle trying to navigate the course. So here, we're trying to highlight here in the third event here, and an example from the rear end of the grid, number 86 of Shukran Mokhtar, which started P35th and finished P18 with an improvement of 17 position from his qualifying spot. So that's a huge improvement. And this example happened on lap 1, as you can see right on the screen, whereby they are actually heading into the bus stop chicane at full speed, where an incident happened ahead, and both drivers, the car in front, the blue color car of 778 of Kelvin Ha, had the awareness to lift as they hear and see the incident happening ahead. Both of them have the awareness to lift and give each other enough space, with Shukran Mokhtar taking the opportunity safely. Not saying that not saying that because we are racing and some incident happened that you're gonna back off. But as you know, the famous Ayrton Senna once said, if you don't go for the gap, you're no longer a racing driver, right? So both of them indeed still trying to race, but keeping a very safe gap, bearing in mind that a huge incident happened ahead. And this is the result, with Shukran Mokhtar improving by 17 positions, finishing P18, and Kelvin Ha also improving 13 position by the end of the race. So huge and good racing from both of them, demonstrating good race awareness and consistency, finishing at a high level and completing the race in a very good position.
Absolutely. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Kelvin T is a racer in the AIMC as well. Unfortunately, he couldn't join us for round 3, and what he's done, which is very familiar to me working in the real world of motorsports, is that he's set up a few notes here, and I'd like to point out something that he's written several times here, the phrase picking your battles, and I think Kelvin Ha absolutely showed that to a T. By backing off a little bit and giving the position to Shukran there, he did not lose all that much time. And in the end, as you saw at the end of the race, he did gain quite a lot of positions compared to where he started. So for both Shukran and Kelvin Ha, it just goes to show that when it comes to racing, it's not all just about mashing the right foot on the gas as hard as possible. You really do have to use your mental capacity in order to try and race safely and productively out there as well.
Yep, absolutely.
So, Paduka, apa pandangan anda pada style perlumbaan ni?
Ya, memang kita semua sedia maklum bahawa dalam perlumbaan ni memang sportsmanship ni sangat penting lah. And then ianya masih lagi melibatkan bab safety juga. Dan bila mana kita sedang fight, tak semestinya kita boleh menidakkan pesaing yang lain. Tapi kita dapat tengok kat sini di mana dia memilih untuk slow down, and then waktu ketika ini yellow flag telah pun dikibarkan. Jadi maknanya dia alert dengan situasi kibaran bendera tu. So ianya masih lagi dalam term yang sama, iaitu safety lah. Dan apa juga pun bila dalam perlumbaan ni tak semestinya bila kita give bila kita bagi ruang pada orang, tak semestinya kita dah tak boleh nak ambil. Jadi dia still lagi boleh fight dan dia finish dalam keadaan yang bagus.
Absolutely, just like Paducah there, he's also pointed out a very good point. These drivers did finish quite high up in the order at the end of the race there, so it just goes to show having a global view, having a long-term view of race strategy is very important. And another key detail is just before this, as Kelvin was saying, there was a accident. In fact, it was in the second sort of point for this evening. There was an accident that just happened up ahead, so they would have gotten the yellow flag warnings up on the iRacing UI, and that would have alerted them to some trouble up ahead. So it's not to say that these guys are clairvoyant. We do have virtual marshals all over the track, and just like in the real world, when you see a yellow flag, you do tend to reduce the risk. And as soon as they exit that yellow flag area, they are immediately back on the throttle and racing again. So it's not about being timid, but it is about being safe and being aware of your surroundings.
Yep, totally agree. So as we're going to move on to the next incident, next case, where this is case number 4. We're going to speak about car number 81 of Jazrin Jali, which is currently our championship leader as well. Very consistent driving. This is incident number 4. We also have incident number 5 with the same two cars. As you can see here, this is car number 81 of Jazrin Jali, and also the car ahead is car number 16 of James Russell. In this case, this is a clear fight between two drivers. However, with the FCR car, the green and blue car, being slightly faster than the URT car in front, but safely backing out of an overtaking move, of which the gap is rapidly disappearing. As you can see on the screen right now, there was a slipstream going on, and the FCR car of Jazrin Jali went into the gap, but we can see the gap slowly disappearing as the URT car closed the door on the right hand side, and the FCR car safely backed out of this move, fighting another lap, and eventually, after a grueling 9 or 10 laps duel, finally passing James Russell as he dives into the pit lane. So this is mature driving, mature, patient, and aggressive driving, pushing each other to the limit, but without any further contact. So this is great racing between both of them. So this is something that we want to highlight in clips number 4 and number 5.
Absolutely. And it just goes to show that just because you're racing very close to each other and you're being very aggressive with each other does not mean you need to sort of run into each other or have any big accidents. It's about being mindful of your surroundings. It's about realizing when a move is on and when a move isn't on, so to speak, and being able to sort of pick your battles, just like Kelvin mentioned in the previous note. It's like you said, it was a real endurance race style battle, 9 or 10 laps before you could overtake the guy in front. That's quite normal in the world of 12-hour and 24-hour endurance racing, and it just goes to show that Jazrin Jali has learned quite a bit from his time out there in enduros, and it really looks like the key here is to just be aware that this is not a 5-lap sprint, but rather a 45-minute race. So just picking your battles and making sure it's safe to pass before going for it is definitely key to doing well in the Adrenaline Impact iRacing Malaysia Championship.
Yes.
So pada Paducah, apa pendapat dengan battle diorang ni yang sampai 9 lap ni?
Ianya satu fight yang memang kita tahu yang Jazrin Jali ni dia memang pelumba. Dia start 2014 lagi dia dah mula aktif dalam dunia sim racing ni. Dan kalau kita dapat lihat kat scene sekarang ni, dia tahu keupayaan pesaing dia dan dia tahu apa movement yang pesaing dia akan buat. So sebagai seorang pelumba, dia kena alert dengan benda-benda macam tu. Apa tindakan, mungkin pesaing dia akan buat tindakan defend apa semua. So untuk dia kekalkan posisi supaya tidak ada, kalau kita fikir macam tak boleh, aku kena potong juga kat sini pasal aku laju, tapi end up kita menyebabkan insiden. ataupun end up kita akan rasa macam yalah, kita akan merosakkan kesemua perlumbaan tu. Jadi kalau kita dapat lihat apa yang ditunjukkan adalah teladan yang baik, di mana okey, tak apa, aku lepaskan kau sekarang, aku akan kejar kau lagi kat depan ni. Sebab kita ada lagi beberapa lap dan still boleh fight lagi. Dan akhirnya dia dapat juga pintas. Tapi kena ada sikit kesabaran lah. Dia tak semestinya first corner, first lap adalah penentu untuk kita menang. Tidak. Jadi dekat sini sportsmanship tu penting. Memang kadang-kadang kita akan jumpa battle yang daripada start race sampai habis race dia kekal fight 1-2 macam tu. Still ada yang macam tu. So ianya adalah macam saya nak cakap kan, kat sini safety adalah penting. Jezrin boleh saja terus pintas macam tu, tapi dia mengambil tindakan lift off throttle, teruskan apa kata fight, walaupun dia tahu berbaki lagi beberapa lap kat depan tu. So dia tetap juga mampu memberi saingan lah.
Yeah.
Alright, so moving quickly on to the next case here, which is 5A. As you can see, this is the same two cars. Jezrin Jali and also James Russell fighting in the midfield, in the infield of the Charlotte Roval, making minor contact, and this continuously happened across in the 9 or 10 laps that they were dueling each other. So there were minor contacts, and there was moves which the gap was rapidly disappearing, and things would just keep happening that way until finally Russell dived into the pit and Jezrin Jali was released. Despite having obviously the higher speed, he was not able to make a move, a clean move, and as well, Jezrin Jali maintained a very steady and calm composure, despite having being blocked by the number 16 car various times, chiefly among the one that you're looking on the screen right now, where actually there was a minor contact between both of them. But still, despite that, Jezrin Jali maintained a very calm demeanor through the race, patiently lining up James Russell as over and over again until finally Russell had the pit. And Jezrin Jali eventually moved ahead and finished P6 in this race, with James Russell finishing P7. So both having very good results in this race because none of them crashed out. This is very important. So yeah, both of them did very good patient attacking, patient defending, and good driving overall, all around.
Absolutely. And before I give my 2.5 cents, or what is it in Singapore's conversion rate right now? 1.25 cents for Wei Han there. Wei Han will be back very shortly, I can assure you of that, fans. But Nigel Schwa there in the comment section just saying, talking with Wicket Low, I was monitoring there back and forth there. Wicket Low thanked Nigel for not running into the back of him, and Nigel Chua was just saying it was in the earlier replay during lap 1, accident in front when I brake. So another example of sportsmanship right there. But this particular incident here, or this particular battle, sort of reminds me of the old saying from the famous Grand Prix racing driver, 3-time champion, Sir Jackie Stewart, who used to say that the key thing in being mentally strong in a race is to race without emotion. And that is a very, very important point, and something I've noticed over my years as a race mechanic and race engineer, and a little bit of rallying as well, that the best drivers always tend to drive with a very clear mind and a very, very good emotion, very stable, and not taking things too seriously, not letting the emotions get the better of them. The ideal driver is always perfectly calm, and I think Jezrin Jali and to an extent James Russell both showed that quite well indeed, even though they were getting into places where they have a little bit of contact, and in touring car racing, ladies and gentlemen, that is bound to happen at one point or another, especially with these cars around this track. But it just goes to show that being calm, cool and collected will get you the results. So,
kalau kita dapat lihat satu teladan yang baik juga. Malam ni kita tunjuk teladan je semua. So Jezrin menggunakan peluang yang ada untuk overtake, tapi dia sedikit contact dekat situ, dia still bagi James Russell kedudukan dia semula, dan dia teruskan fight. So dekat sini kita sebenarnya memang apa orang kata memang harus tunjukkan benda-benda macam ni lah. Jadi semangat kita nak berlumba tu bukan dalam keadaan membuli, tapi lebih pada dalam keadaan sama-sama nak fight. Dan pada saya kalau perlumbaan begini, kalau sampai 9 lap ataupun lebih pada 9 lap tu fight berdua, and then dianya akan jadi satu fight yang kita akan ingat dan kita akan rasa puas lah. Yang memang susah kalau kita nak cakap sebenarnya, tapi kalau siapa yang pernah rasa perlumbaan yang memang fight clean dan masing-masing kata best fight tadi, memang shock, itu kita akan rasa lebih puas walaupun kita tak podium. Itu memang different. Tanyalah mana-mana driver pun champion nombor 1, nombor 2, nombor 3 adalah bonus sebenarnya. Yang diorang nakkan adalah fight tu. Fight mana dia orang rasa memang betul-betul racecraft yang padu, and then dia orang rasa macam berbaloi lah datang race hari ni, memang baloi. Dan kita punya pesaing pula cakap, bro, memang fight gila lah dengan kau tadi. So kita akan rasa macam, wow, kau puji aku ni, aku pun puji kau. So benda macam ni kita harus ada dalam diri dan kekalkan sportsmanship.
Absolutely. Just like Paduka there mentioned, it's a good battle is the one that you walk away with both drivers feeling really good about themselves, and not necessarily it's not necessarily about the win. Sometimes it's about the battles we have along the way. So Kelvin, what do you reckon?
Oh, definitely, fully agree with that, right? I mean, it's easier said than done. Having been driving in the AIMC championship as well, right? It is really a very close championship that actually everyone enjoys, and we love fighting each other, right? I mean, cleanly, of course. But sometimes when it comes to just racing, it may be very difficult to judge and when to pull out and when to be very calm when it comes to the driving, right? I myself have actually seen the red mist descend over the eye sometimes, and you just feel like, wow, Garam, like what's happening? You know what? Hey, and we hear a lot of, hey, what's up, bro? You know what's happening within these kind of races, because everyone is driving in a field where actually tensions are up, the emotions are high because we are excited. We are like the namesake of our championship, right? The impact of adrenaline here is truly one that affects everyone. And as you can see here, it's really not easy to do the calm thing that in our previous video, Jezrin Jali has done. And in this particular incident as well, number 6, Michael Hafiz, which actually finished 17 positions from his qualifying box, which is P27. He actually finished P10, having picked his battles very cleanly, very smartly, yielding the position to Nigel on the radio. Actually, we can't hear the radio, but actually on the radio he was saying, Nigel, pass on the left. He's saying, Nigel, take the pass, because he's not going to fight a car that's obviously faster. He's going to let him pass safely, and then he's going to pick his battles very cleanly, very smartly, and en route to finishing within the P10 position. So kudos to Michael here for this wonderful, fantastic yield, clean yield as well. And of course, I mean, being a racing driver is not easy to do that, but sometimes we just got to understand this might be the better thing to do in the long run.
Absolutely, and a lot of people don't realize this, is that if you try and get into a battle, what tends to happen is the car ahead of the battle tends to start pulling out a gap. When you're battling with another driver, you're not taking the ideal racing line, you're not lapping at the best pace that you possibly can, simply because you have to take different racing lines. So sometimes when it is quite obvious that the car behind is quicker, sometimes it is just better to let them pass and try and work with them, because you can get a bit of a slipstream coming off the car up ahead. So, Paduka, apa pandangan dengan situasi begini?
Dia satu pandangan yang saya jujurnya saya cakap lah pengalaman yang saya boleh kongsikan sedikit. Kadang-kadang pelumba-pelumba ni dia sebenarnya lebih pada bersaing pada diri dia sendiri. Jadi bila dia bersaing untuk diri dia sendiri, dia akan fikir orang lain pun sedang bersaing untuk diri dia sendiri. So pihak lawan yang lain pun akan bersaing untuk diri dia orang juga sendiri. So bila kita dapat lihat kat sini mana dia tahu yang orang di belakang lebih laju, and then dia bagi ruang untuk orang kata memintas, sebab dia still fight. Mungkin boleh saja berlaku yang ada masalah pada kereta ke yang menyebabkan kereta tu slow. Mungkin juga strategi ataupun mungkin juga kehabisan minyak ke, dia nak save. So benda-benda macam tu semua memang merangkumi banyak aspek, and then benda-benda macam ni harus kita ambil contoh lah, teladan. Mana dia tak perlu nak block ataupun tak perlu nak rasa macam nampak macam fight, nampak macam defend, tapi sudahnya end up dua-dua accident sebab terlalu apa panggil, terlalu rasa nak macam oh tak kira nak juga fight, tak ada, tak boleh nak bagi mudah-mudah. Aku mesti nak defend aku punya apa kedudukan. Ya, dan benda-benda macam ni kadang-kadang kita faham juga yang
Fortunately, we appear to have lost our steward. We'll get him back as soon as we can, but I think what he was trying to get to there is that even though the car behind Nigel Chua, who made that overtaking move, and Michael Hafiz, they perhaps might have been on different laps. Nigel Chua might have been a lap behind Michael, but there really is no sense in trying to slow down a car that is seconds a lap faster than yourself. And the other thing that Paducah has mentioned there is that a lot of the times these drivers, some of the drivers that really enjoy sim racing, they're out there for themselves. They're trying to better their previous result, or they're trying to better their race pace. And when you sort of race with that sort of attitude of trying to just get yourself better, get yourself further up the field, you slowly start to realize that other drivers around you might be there for the same intention. So not really battling to try and be the champion, not really battling to try and sort of take over the world, if you will, but just try and be a better racing driver. And you can see there with Michael, he's sensibly given the position there. And again, just like I was saying, even if you're on different laps, sometimes you can work together and share the slipstream and do that sort of stuff. So
Yep, totally agree with that. I mean, it makes complete sense, right? Because it might not just be a simple pace issue. I mean, sometimes you're just slower than the car behind. It might be a different strategy, or in this case, as the comment section showed, actually it was a disconnect, and Nigel Chua rejoined and started from the back. However, clearly enjoying a pace advantage, I think sometimes it's better to yield the position instead of fighting and wasting time for both drivers, actually. Alright, so let's now move into item number 7 here on the screen. As we can see, this is a pass on to the infield section of the Charlotte Roval. A very difficult and technical session of which there is one blind corner to the right. If you actually overspeed and go into that corner hard enough, you could actually wind up on the grass and not having control of the car. Very tough section. But as you can see here, there's a clean fight, a good overtake from Michael Hafiz on Tengku Jan, and there's Dominic Ang as well participating in the fight, doing very closely, very tightly, and yet giving each other enough space and respect among the drivers to drive and pass cleanly. Minor touch there, but no harm, no foul. And this is basically just a simple move done right, and led to a good finishing position for actually all of them.
Absolutely, and it just goes to show that you can race aggressively, and like I said earlier, in touring cars you sort of do have to accept a little bit of contact. This isn't open wheel racing, ladies and gentlemen, this is full on touring car racing, so a little bit of contact is to be expected on occasions. Occasionally the car might snap sideways in the braking, that sort of stuff. We are driving around not in purpose-built race cars, obviously, but in modified road-going touring cars, as they are known. But yeah, it just goes to show that you can race very close together, very cleanly, and really have, in all honesty, a very enjoyable battle between all the drivers, and they did all finish in a fairly high position, definitely well up in the top half of the leaderboard. So now, apa perasaan tengok battle yang agak menarik ni?
Ya, battle ni memang kita nampak satu memang ada sedikit agresif, tapi masing-masing kekal dekat position masing-masing, dan bila rasa ruang tu ada untuk memintas, then dia still masing-masing ada jarak. And bila contact biasa tu normal lah. Dalam perlumbaan kalau tak ada contact tu kira macam pelik lah kan. Sebab itu memang normal lah. Bumper to bumper, body to body, door to door tu normal sebenarnya. Tapi kalau kita dapat lihat kat sini sebenarnya masing-masing still ambil langkah kata penjarakan sosial lah. Kita nak elakkan supaya insiden tu berlaku. Jadi kita namakan dia sama macam penjarakan sosial juga. Supaya kita faham yang perlombaan ni aku tak nak rosakkan. So masing-masing ada fight dan Michael pula kita sedia maklum dia menggunakan triple. So dia nampak lah kiri kanan dia tu dia surround. So dalam perlombaan sebenarnya yang nak dititik beratkan kat sini adalah surrounding. Kita kena peka dengan keadaan sekeliling kita.
Absolutely, just like Paduka said there, it looks like all the drivers definitely following all the SOPs for the movement control order and keeping a nice, good bit of social distancing between them. And also very, very aware that the race is very long. The AIMC is very long in terms of endurance races. So you really do have to watch out for that sort of stuff. But a very good, clean but aggressive race all round.
So now we move into the next incident, which is actually halfway through the race. We actually we had a phase whereby we actually had a full course yellow FCY, as you can see on the screen on top there. This incident was in the middle of the lap on the Charlotte infield, where there was a brake maneuver done on the straight, and as a result, Ahmad Norazam's car had to accidentally hit the car in front, and causing the car behind to actually tap him, and resulted in a huge crash for the FCR car. So this was the cause of the FCY incident, full course yellow, that happened in the race yesterday, and leading the pace car to be out for a few laps before we actually resume the race and continue under racing conditions.
Absolutely, and that had big implications in the race because it meant that Ilham Hlabi had that much distance that he didn't have to try and claw back to the leader, which at this point was Arif Roslan. So this was a very pivotal point in the race in terms of tactics and in terms of the battle for the lead. So pada pendapat Paduka, apa pendapat insiden ni?
Insiden ni kalau ikut saya tak sepatutnya berlaku sebab kita faham yang dekat situ sebenarnya high speed corner, dan biasanya brake tu bukan di tempat di mana sepatutnya brake kat situ. Patutnya dia brake dekat area atas ni lah. So benda macam ni juga kita sebagai pelumba juga harus peka dengan tindakan orang di hadapan. And then dalam hal ni saya ingin menegur jugalah, maknanya kita sebenarnya perlu tahu limit kita memandu, dan kita yang paling penting adalah memang perlu orang kata belajar selok-belok tentang perlumbaan ni, terutamanya track. Kita kena hafal lita ni, kita kena tahu kat mana breaking point dia, kat mana kita nak attack corner, kat mana kita nak slow down. So breaking point tu semua memang memainkan peranan penting. So sebelum kita boleh memandu, memang itu yang kita kena baca dulu. Baca dulu layout kat mana, lepas tu kita tengok on board orang lain, oh dekat sini dia tak brake. So kita cuba improve satu persatu, dan jangan disebabkan kita orang lain terlibat dalam insiden yang lebih besar. So tak sepatutnya benda ni berlaku, dan saya harap di masa akan datang kita lebih peka supaya kita tahu track tu macam mana keadaan dia dan rupa dia.
So a little bit of friendly advice there from Paduka, just to try and learn where the breaking points are. It'll improve your pace as a driver and it'll avoid instances like this. And just for my 2.5 cents there, Gilbert was braking a little bit early there. Perhaps it was his first time at the track there, so the drivers behind do have to be a little bit aware that occasionally the driver will have to brake a little bit earlier, perhaps for a mechanical issue or a pace difference. Some drivers might take a corner flat out, whereas others might brake a little bit harder for that sort of corner there. So you do have to be just a little bit careful when it comes to those sort of situations. But definitely it'd be very, very useful to learn the braking zones of the track. You would not believe, just speaking from experience, you would not believe how much time you can save from learning the track, as well as how much time you save on your lap time when you have a look at, say, a YouTube video and things of that nature, just to learn the track and learn how most drivers take it. So it's something I'm sure the guys will take for going into the next round.
Yeah, so most unfortunate as well as that it involved a lap car with a car running within the top 10 position as well. So I think more awareness has to be done there. But yeah, I mean, good friendly advice from Paducah. So fantastic advice indeed. And as we switch our attention now to event number 8 here, which is a great position defense. And these two, they are the leading cars of the race. Very interesting, very tight racing, as you can see on the stream itself. Fantastic racing going on between these two guys. Close, respectful, and just out and out great racing through this entire circuit. And as you can see, there's a clear example here on this particular clip that we have selected, which is at number 8, of which the car of a number 986 of Ilham Halabi, our eventual race winner, having the slipstream advantage, but moving off to the top, the high side of the oval, and Arif Roslan staying on the low side, defending his position on the inside line leading into the chicane. However, both of them navigated the chicane safely. Ilham Halabi gave space, Arif Roslan braked, but kept his car straight line in a very nice way that he does not lose too much speed, but also at the same time ensure that he did not hit any curbs in the wrong way, sending his car flying. And this continued for a few laps, demonstrating absolutely good racing between both of them.
Absolutely, and it just goes to show that the Arif Roslan here really showing off that defensive driving. Oftentimes, defensive driving doesn't mean the sort of the close contact battles that we've seen earlier on. Sometimes it's a bit more strategic like that. Some of the races you see on ovals, especially combination road and oval courses, I should say, at Charlotte or Daytona, or even at Pocono, you'll see a lot of this sort of stuff, and it is really a high-speed chess game at this point. It's absolutely beautiful to watch, and really on par. These sort of battles are really on par with the best of motorsports, whether it's real life or sim racing. So bravo to those guys, and a special shout out to Arif Roslan, who's done very, very well this weekend.
Yes, I think I just wanted to once again highlight the clean driving here that we might not be able to see from the external cameras, is that both Arif Roslan and Ilham Halabi maintained their lines through the entire turn without swerving around, committing to a line, one committing to defense, the other committing to attack, but both keeping a clean line, giving each other enough space, enough room to navigate the chicane safely. And this battle actually continued on for a few more laps until our eventual next event, where don't want to spoil it yet. So yeah, this battle was long, this battle was tough, it was hard fought, and it was because the FCY brought out the safety car and closed up the pack together that we get to see close racing like this. So fantastic racing for both of them.
Okey, untuk perlombaan Okayama, kita dah mula buka server pada malam ini. Boleh pergi ke sana untuk ramai-ramai memeriahkan lagi first practice pada malam ni.
Agak menarik juga.
Ambil peluang lah. Yap, ambil peluang yang ada untuk kita berlatih, dan juga yang paling penting sekali, yang ini saya nak tekankan. Yang paling penting sekali adalah di mana kita kena faham juga karakter pesaing kita. So apa yang dilakukan oleh Ilham ni adalah satu benda yang patut jadikan teladan, dan untuk Okayama ni saya mengharapkan orang dapat buat apa yang Ilham dan juga Arif Roslan lakukan sekarang ni. Di mana sebenarnya kita kena alert dan juga kita kena tahu. Just saya nak share sikit lah. Kadang-kadang bila kita tengah fight, kita tak boleh guna dah braking point yang kita biasa guna bila kita during time attack. Kita tengah buat time attack, kita punya braking point kita dah tak boleh guna. Jadi kita kena break lebih awal supaya orang di hadapan ada space untuk kita, sebab kita boleh memintas dia dekat depan kalau kita still laju, dan kita boleh fight lagi sebenarnya. Jadi saya mengharapkan di masa akan datang tolong alert di mana kita tak boleh guna braking point yang sama kalau kita di belakang. Kalau kita side by side boleh, itu tak jadi masalah. Nak break dua-dua orang kat 100 tak ada masalah. Tapi kalau seorang di belakang, seorang di hadapan, saya tak galakkan untuk dua-dua break kat 100. Memang akan berlaku insiden. So harap dapat tonton semula bila live ni dah habis, tengok semula apa yang ditunjukkan oleh Ilham Malabi. Bila mana dia sebenarnya ada peluang pun untuk overtake Arif Roslan di sini sebenarnya. Sebab kalau ikutkan dia punya speed, dia lebih laju daripada Arif Roslan. Tapi dia ambil langkah untuk tidak menyebabkan pelanggaran. So ini teladan yang baik.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic advice from Paduka there. Thank you so much. Back to you, Max.
So now we're just going to have a quick look at the next overtaking mover. Kelvin, take it away.
All right. So for number 9 here, the same two cars battling for positions. Ilham Halabi this time, and also the same Arif Roslan in front. Before you see them on the oval section of this track, actually Arif Roslan made a little bit of an error and tapped the wall slightly, just ever slightly, losing some speed coming out on the main straight. And as I said earlier in the event clip number 8, which we have just seen, Arif Roslan had used the inside line for a few laps now, defending his position from Ilham Halabi cleanly and fairly, and Ilham Halabi also trying to pass cleanly but ultimately yielding the position back. But seeing this opportunity at this lap, Ilham took the chance when Arif tapped the wall slightly. As you can see on this replay right now, Arif ran a little bit wide, tapped the wall, lost some speed. Ilham took the inside line, gathered more speed and covered off the inside, preventing Arif from coming in down to the inside and holding the line. And of course, Arif respectfully and cleanly yielding the position because he has no longer the advantage, and pushing further in will just cause both racers to crash and losing the P1 and P2 positions to the rest of the cars there. So very clean, very smart driving from both of them. Very exciting indeed. I think I echo Paduka that hopefully we can see this type of racing across the entire field.
Absolutely. And another one of Paduka's tips there when he was introducing our test server for Okayama, one of our practice sessions, that's going to go live very soon. So attention to all racers. For those of you who want to get a little bit of early practice time around a fantastic race circuit, do stay tuned for that. But Paduka was also stating that when you're coming into a braking zone and you're following someone nose to tail, you do have to realize that you'll have to brake a little bit earlier than the car ahead of you. And when you're side by side, obviously you can use the same braking spot. So it's very, very important to understand that you can't quite take the same lines as you do on a hot lap when you're battling.
Okay, kalau kita dapat lihat ni memang fight yang saya tengok daripada 3 lap yang terakhir diorang fight. So kat sini memang saya tekankan macam yang tadilah. Lap yang sebelum ni yang tadi kita tengok KS yang ke-8 tu, sebenarnya itu adalah yang sebelum lap yang dia dah jumpa kat sini. Time kat sini ni dia dah tahu dah. Dia tahu yang bila sedikit asakan dia akan ada ruang untuk dia overtake, dan dia berjaya overtake kat situ. Dan kalau kita dapat lihat kat sini, apa yang saya tekankan daripada season yang sebelum ni adalah stay at your line. Kalau dah duduk dekat kanan, stay je kat tu. Maknanya kalau orang di sebelah kanan ataupun di sebelah kiri kita ni memintas, maknanya dia memang laju. So untuk kita defend di jalan yang lurus memang sangat mustahil sebenarnya, sebab ianya akan nampak lebih pada blocking. Tapi apa yang ditunjukkan dekat sini adalah kita dapat lihat yang ke-8 tadi kita tengok mana Ilham bagi gap pada Arif Roslan untuk selesa masuk di dalam tempat yang memang kita agak sukar untuk kita tengok side by side kat situ. Dan apa yang ditunjukkan oleh Ilham sebenarnya ditunjukkan balik sportsmanship oleh Arif Roslan. Dia tahu kalau dia masuk juga akan menyebabkan insiden kat situ. Jadi apa dia buat? Dia break awal untuk bagi Ilham pula masuk di hadapan. So dia still juga bila dia keluar tu dia boleh fight lagi. Tapi Macam saya cakap, daripada dia merosakkan perlumbaan itu, baik dia finish je. Dan dia kekalkan perlumbaan tu dengan keadaan sportsmanship. So, ini yang saya nak tekankan supaya pelumba-pelumba lain dapat buat macam ni.
Absolutely. Like Paduka just said there, his favorite 4 words, stay at your line. So if you do find someone on the outside or on the inside, it's best to keep those positions and just be safe.
Yeah, so as we go into the last clip that we have tonight, highlighted cars today here is we have car number 689 of Shaifu Arifin, cars number 3 of Kelvin De Singh, and car number 28 of Wicked Low closing fast into the final few laps of the race, I believe. And all of these drivers going into the main straight, finishing line straight, all of them actually are very close. I was made aware that Shaifu Arifin actually had to endure a little bit of problem with his shifter, and as a result, as you can see on the screen, he has ran a little bit wide into the corner, braking a little bit too late, and because of the problems he had with the shifter, not able to defend his position. But what here is clean and clear for all of us to see is that despite having issues with his shifter, despite having issues with his simulator rig, and racing at a very high level towards the end of the race where positions are lost, and actually he is fighting for a podium position in P3, he decided to actually yield the position safely, because there is really no point in fighting a car that's actually already going to pass you, as well as having other cars behind. So you can see here Shaifu Arifin just staying to the right despite having his problem, and especially having the awareness to ensure that there is enough gap on the left hand side for the other cars to pass. So very clean racing, very professional, and high level of racecraft and sportsmanship among all the drivers there.
Absolutely, and just goes to show the famous point of a famous SCCA racer from way back in the 80s. If she's broken, there's no point trying to win the race.
Yes indeed, yes indeed.
So pada Paduka, apa pendapat Paduka pada insiden ini?
Kita dapat tengok macam saya cakap sebelum ni, kebanyakan pelumba-pelumba yang macam Saiful Arifin, dia memang start pelumba daripada 2014 lagi, dan dia pernah mengikuti beberapa series perlumbaan di Liga-Liga Asia, dan dia tahu di mana kedudukan dia boleh laju, tapi kalau kita dapat lihat tadi waktu dia membiarkan 2 kenderaan tu melepasi dia, tu apa yang dia lakukan adalah dia stay at dia punya line. Dia stay, dia tak masuk pun, dia tak tutup pun daripada awal. Dia stay dan dia meninggalkan satu ruang untuk kereta di sebelah yang kuning tu melepasi dia. Dan kalau tengok kat sini, dia stay juga bagi satu ruang untuk kereta hijau tu duduk di belakang dia. Maknanya dia tak tutup awal. So ini satu benda yang teladan yang baik yang ditunjukkan oleh saya gelarkan mereka ni lah sebenarnya, antaranya lah kan, top player yang kita harus jadikan mereka ni sebagai rujukan, pasal bukan mereka laju, tapi mereka tahu limit, dia tahu apa yang dia patut buat, dan dia tahu sportsmanship. Okay, saya mention sedikit nama-nama top player Ilham Halabi, Saiful Arifin, Jazrin Jali, antara 3 orang yang memang jarang kita tengok ada insiden yang berlaku disebabkan mereka. So benda-benda macam ni kita patut ambil peluang lah, sebab kita duduk dalam satu komuniti, so belajar daripada mereka.
Yeah, I just wanted to add as well, right, on this, on what Paduka has mentioned there. It's just very clean. I mean, if there's just one lesson that we can all take home today from this post-race show, I believe that it is just leave a space for each other. And just to quote one of my favorite drivers, Fernando Alonso, right, he said, all the time, you have to leave a space. And if we all can just leave a space for each other there, I believe every single race will be very enjoyable. I mean, if you lose the position, if you actually are faster than the car ahead, you will gain that back. So remember to leave that space, respect each other, just leave a space, stay on your line, and enjoy the race. I think that's what we can see today from the top drivers, not just at the top end of the field, but actually all the way from the top to the back of the field. Huge respect for all the drivers that participated in this round of the AIMC race.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kelvin.
Absolutely agreed. And just just to now have a quick look at the next round. Now, you guys know that I like to occasionally drop a little bit of a factoid. This is the 3.2 kilometers of Okayama International Circuit with 11 turns and a rather slow pit lane speed limit of 60 kilometers an hour. And for those of you who perhaps didn't catch that factoid from season 1, believe it or not, this used to be a Formula 1 track. It hosted the Pacific Grand Prix for 2 years, and it's the only racetrack where one driver has held a 100% winning record. Michael Schumacher won both in 1994 and 1995, back when this track used to be called TI Aida. Absolutely. So, Kelvin, very special thank you for your expert analysis of the race. You've obviously taken a lot of your experience for racing for the Hermanos Veloces team, and we're absolutely love to have you back in the studio anytime you like. And special thanks to our steward Paduka Shoaib Hassan, who's been his insight and comments throughout the 2 series has been absolutely fantastic. But for now, all that remains for me to say is to thank the sponsors, Works Engineering, Lucas Oil, Precision Sim Racing, Android King, and our chief supporter for this season, the Motorsports Association of Malaysia. And that will be all from us this evening. My name is Matt Palmer, and do stay tuned because we have a little bit of a special broadcast coming right after this. So do stay tuned to this feed. We'll be back in just a moment. And we're back just in time to have a quick look at the field. Right now we see them lining up, and they are off on the practice race, the first practice race we're going to have all throughout the week. We're going to have a few of these races here at the Okayama International Circuit. There was a little bit of an incident there through turn 1, but it looks like Jezrin Jali has managed to get away from the two Padawan cars. The Padawan teams definitely improving by leaps and bounds all throughout the weekend. And now we see the top 10 then. Jezrin Jali is in first place, followed by Nazmi Mazli, Taufik Tahir, Shami Aizan, Afizul Jai, Faiz, Nigel, Sharil, Afik, and Shaiful. That is your top 10. And we do have a couple of new faces in there. I believe Shawal Reja, who was joined at rather short notice there. I do apologize if I butchered the pronunciation there. And incidentally, if you're a fan of Shawal Reja, do leave us a comment down below and correct us. And while you're doing that, just slip us one of those likes, if you will, and do share the video amongst with your friends and spread the sim racing love around. Special thanks to our sponsors, Works Engineering, Lucas Oil, Precision Sim Racing, Android King, and the Motorsports Association of Malaysia, which is our supporter for this season. Special thanks to them for getting on board with this fantastic race series. But right now, we're just completing the first lap of what looks to be a 20-lap race. This will not only give the drivers fantastic data as to the layout, the course, and the challenges of Okayama, but it'll give us that crucial refueling information for the next few rounds. So for those of you who don't know, we've adjusted these cars' fuel tank sizes to ensure pit stops and give a little bit of extra spice into the action. But that's Shami Aizan, the Rad Pro Drive Esports car in a testing livery, I notice. Very, very nice, and it sort of reminds me of the times in WTCC when drivers used to go out in their all-white cars just before they get wrapped in the full race livery. So a rather cheeky nod to that.
Hi, man.
Sort of. Hello there.
Okay.
That's our Alan.
Hi guys, I've been in the background. Okay, this time I'm gonna join Matthew. Okay, we have, this is an old timer actually, Shawar Rajab. He's one of the maybe I silap is he is one of the pioneers of SRE. So he just resubscribed iRacing a while ago, and he's very eager to join. I think very good choice to join AIMC.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's perhaps in a similar situation to myself and quite a few of drivers I've known over the years, when they've, occasionally you have to work commitments or life commitments take you away from sim racing or motor racing, but that draw always pulls you back in somehow or another, doesn't it?
So I think the Discord server is left kita dua je ni. Paduka is gone missing. Paduka ada ke Paduka? Tak ada.
Ada lah.
Dia tak ada. Okay. It's okay.
Oh,
Jadi dia turun track kot.
Yeah. So Paduka had to jump into the marshal's car and rush off to Okayama. As you guys probably know, we had that joke earlier on about flying all the way to Bathurst in 5 minutes flat. And I think perhaps Paduka just about made it to Okayama in time for the start of the race. But that's Faiz Aslan we're on board with right now, and it'd be interesting to see, guys. Just leave a comment down below as to what you think of our new revamped post-race show. We've had a lot of post-race shows previously that were looking into driving standards and things like that, and we believe that we've left a sizable sort of inventory of videos there that you can refer back to and learn on through future races. But for now, we're going to look at some of the positive points of the race and some of the action and battles and basically revamped the show into more of a review show format. So do leave us a comment down below and tell us what you think of that change.
Yeah, also we're gonna do a contest regarding the AIMC tagline. So it should be in English, less than 5 words. So we're gonna launch that soon on our page. And do you have any ideas?
Absolutely. My previous suggestion of fastest kittens on the planet has been rejected, thankfully. And perhaps I'm just suffering from a little bit of a writer's block, so do help me out just a little bit there. And who knows, we might be able to give you a little bit of a something for your time. So do get your creative minds ready for that. And yeah, it'll be absolutely exciting stuff indeed. But yeah, speaking of the track here, it's absolutely a favorite for a lot of the races, and I think we're going to see some very exciting racing up ahead. But for now, we're just going to have a quick look at this test session. The cameras are all nicely set up and ready, and yeah.
So this is not our regular 45 minutes race. This is a heat race where the first heat is going to be 20 minutes and the second heat is going to be 25 minutes. So this practices, this is good for formation lap practice. This is also good to see your best lap times in a kind of a sprint race format. So what are your thoughts?
Absolutely, this is a very interesting way of doing it, because the break between the first heat and the second heat roughly coincides with the one-stop strategy. So a lot of these guys will be able to figure out the fuel calculations without having to worry about pit stops or things like that. It also gives them an opportunity to, as Paduka said, really learn what the other drivers are going to do in a friendlier sort of environment of a practice session. So it's very interesting indeed to see some of these drivers out there. I see Afi Fadlan, I see Lloyd Lachlan. I could be wrong, but I don't remember him in previous race there. But we did have a couple of drivers that were not.
He was absent on round 3.
Yeah, so unfortunately, due to prior commitments, some of the drivers were not able to join us. But thankfully, it looks like Lloyd Lachlan's back on board. One of the more aggressive racers, one of the faster racers. It'd be very, very good to see him doing his spectacular best in this series.
We're seeing 2 Padawan cars in the top 3 positions. So they have been very good for the past few races. They gained a lot of points, and their race quality has been very astonishing, I think, for what I've observed.
Absolutely, the improvements have been massive. From, as you know, in season 1, perhaps they weren't considered a front-running team, but now I think it's safe to say they're beginning to emerge as one of the teams that could challenge for the lead. So I'm guessing it's perhaps time that, especially Nazmi Mazli, who's been very, very quick indeed, and Taufik Tahir, who's been very consistent in racking up the points there, so we'll probably see them climb up to the leaderboard, and who knows, perhaps in season 3 they'll really see the improvements come through there. But it's interesting to see that the pool of teams that are fighting to be out the front really does increase race by race, and it's going to be very interesting to see how these guys get along, especially as we move closer to the warm-up race and to the actual championship race. But for those of you who are wondering, the Padawan SRC's very industrial-looking livery, it took me a long time to figure this out. Perhaps Karol and a lot of you guys out there probably twigged it before I did, but if you see very carefully there, that's a TIE Fighter on the side of the car. Those are 2 TIE Fighter themed cars, and I think that's a very nice creative
as
choice
a
there.
Star Wars fan, that's not a TIE fighter. That's an
Sorry,
X-Wing.
see, I haven't
you're
been watching enough.
Trekkie fan good.
I haven't been watching any movies for the last like however long because I'm too busy. I do
It's
apologize.
an X-Wing. X-Wing.
It's an X-wing. I just realized that actually when I said that. Oh, hang on, that isn't a TIE fighter because the TIE fighter has got the wings on the end, haven't it?
Yeah.
Haven't it? Yeah.
I would like to invite Michael to get in this trip. he didn't manage to get to the race.
That's a real shame indeed. For those of you who are probably wondering, Michael Hafiz joined me in the first few broadcasts we had under the Adrenaline Impact iRacing Invitational series as a bilingual commentator, and he's been doing very well in the races himself, where he's moved from the commentary box into the racetrack, sort of like the reverse Martin Brundle, if you will. Martin Brundle, for those of you who don't know, perhaps you know him more as a commentator, but he was Britain's most successful driver to have never won a race. Perhaps, I don't know if he's proud of that title or not, considering he didn't manage to win a race. He had just awful luck throughout his career, but he still seems to be quite happy about it. And now he's having a bit of a career over there, and it sort of mirrors what we do here at Adrenaline Impact. For those of you who don't know, Adrenaline Impact is made up of people who are not only just fans of motorsports, both real life and in sim racing, but we're also made up of people who have competed in motorsports in the past, not only as engineers or mechanics, but also as drivers and entrants. So that's a little bit of trivia for you guys. I myself am what they euphemistically call me a race engineer, but I'd like to prefer to think of myself as just a good old-fashioned race mechanic and draftsman. And I've also done a little bit of rallying as well in the past, being a co-driver and driver throughout the years. Karo Alang, you do have a little bit of racing background as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I went for drag racing a few years ago, and I ran my car for Michael was driving my car. It was a 1.3 liter turbo from Daihatsu. So we made it, we tuned it, and we got it ready. But eventually, sadly, there's commitments of work, and then it's been left out there in ProTouch. So it's under care of ProTouch. We're maybe planning to run it as a time attack machine. So it will be maybe a community project between the Sungai Merak boys. So stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, I'm just prepping up a poster for this week's event with SRA. So we have a joint event with them. You just hang on there, Matt, and try to commentate first.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are wondering, the connection to sim racing is quite strong as well. Chan Wei Han, who's our regular commentator, he unfortunately couldn't make it for round 3. We're hoping to get him back for round 4 as well. He is a big mover and shaker in the Singapore sim racing community, and a fantastic friend to SRE, which is the community that has backed us in the Adrenaline Impact iRacing Malaysia Championship as well. And he has quite a bit of experience in sim racing as a driver as well. So that's where he gets his knowledge for sim racing. And it's absolutely fantastic to have guys like that to talk with. Of course, we've had Kelvin T, who's been absolutely fantastic. I was meaning to point out to Kelvin that in the comment section below we had some of the drivers actually sort of vouch for him, asking for him to come back into the commentary booth. He's done very well for himself, considering it's his first time in the series commentating. But it just goes to show that these racing drivers do know just a little bit more than driving cars fast, don't they?
Yeah. Okay, let me save this poster. I haven't saved it. So right now with on Fizul Jai is in the top 4 positions, battling out with Shamil and Taufik.
Absolutely. I have a theory with Afizul Jai and perhaps with Saifur Arifin and a couple of the other drivers as well. As we come out of the lockdown period here in Malaysia, a lot of these drivers are getting back into their race cars and their practice cars in the real world. Afizul Jai used to be known as Jai Bluebird, although he does point out that he currently is sliding around in a fantastic little Toyota Starlet, and having witnessed it firsthand, I can say he does throw that car around quite well indeed. But having said that, Saifur Arifin, Amir Faradian, myself went over to have a look at Afizul Jai drifting, doing a bit of a practice session at Stadium Shah Alam, which they often have. The Stadium Shah Alam has a special car park with no curbstones or lines or anything like that. It's just a totally smooth tarmac skid pad that these guys like to use, and he finally got back into his mean drift machine. I know he has another car up ahead, but although I'll let him introduce it to you guys as opposed to myself, I don't want to pull out any spoilers there. But my theory posits that Afizul Jai, having finally gotten into a competition car and finally gotten some real world experience under his belt, is doing quite well for himself. And I know Saifur Arifin, he has this ongoing project with the 850 BTCC replica car, and I think he did also drive that car very recently as well. So I'm thinking that these guys, having been in a real world race car, has managed to sort of reignite something in their driving to bring them back up the leaderboard.
Yeah, we're also glad for Jai to be supporting AIMC with Android King. So he's one of the main sponsors for this season. And he's super... Oh, big crash there. That was a racing incident. And for Android King, they are one of the affordable solutions for sim racing. If you're looking for a cheap solution or for economical solution to start off, or giving it out to your kids, or for your own new hobby, is a good place to find those equipment. And also they other from sim racing, they have arcade emulators in form of what they call it, the Pandora box. Okay, Pandora box is actually is a compilation of thousands of games inside. So hours and hours to be spent there. It's very good for practicing and reviving your old days habit from the arcades.
Absolutely, and it's another touch of deja vu for myself, because for those of you who don't know, there's a very popular arcade down here in Subang where I live, up in the Summit shopping mall way back in the day that I used to go to quite often. So unfortunately I couldn't make it for the prize giving ceremony for season 1. I do apologize for that, but as it turns out, they had a Pandora's box up and running, and I'm really green with envy for that.
maybe if he could offer to use his shop again for our ceremony, is a good idea.
Absolutely, I'll keep my schedule clear for that, because I'm a big fan of old Sega machines especially, but also old Neo Geo stuff, SNK, got a lot of 16-bit love.
The last console I touched was Sega Mega Drive. I was a big fan of Auto Combat 3 and Sonic and Earthworm Jim. Have you tried Earthworm Jim?
Absolutely, that was actually my first console, the Mega Drive. Probably the most amount of fun I ever had with games consoles. I will have to say that.
Okay, speaking of sponsors, we also have Kelvin Ha. Kelvin Ha is the owner of Precision Sim Racing. He just started up that company and he's doing very well, getting all the affordable, also to mid-level equipments. Some of them I think is more to pro already, right?
Absolutely, I've been looking in envy at their pedal box setup. Their Precision Sim Racing's pedal setup, I think, is on par with Hoising Belt's sprint system, and for those of you in the sim racing know that is a very high praise indeed. I personally like a very heavy and very progressive brake setup myself, and having looked at those pedal sets every time the advert comes on, I must say I really do want to try those.
I think he will be giving out a big surprise towards the end of the championship for overall winner. So stay tuned for that. And meanwhile, before this race ends, we'll just quickly show the poster of this weekend's race. It's in between our warm-up race and our round 4 race. On Saturday, and tomorrow will be the warm-up race for this event, Merdeka National Day Specials between Singapore and Malaysia.
Absolutely, some fantastic developments in the sim racing communities of Singapore and Malaysia. This is going to be an absolutely fantastic event, reviving the spirit of the old Merdeka endurance races, and it's going to be an absolutely fantastic event indeed. The Merdeka SG55 special will be on Saturday, 22nd of August, but the practice race will be on tomorrow on the 19th.
Yeah, and it'll follow the regular format that we're using, 45 minutes race, and it's open for league members of SRE and AIMC. Sorry,
Absolutely.
SRA and AIMC.
Absolutely, and it's going to be an absolutely fantastic event. The previous SRE versus SRA event was quite fantastic racing, very close battles, and it's going to be really good this time around. Speaking of a driver that could be there he is in the virtual studio right now. Michael, hi.
Belum hook up mic kot.
I think he's just looking for the mic cable there, but Michael, I'm sure, will be absolutely raring and willing to join in on the fun. And yeah, hopefully we'll have myself and Wei-Hen on board, and if Kelvin's available, we might even bring him into the studio as well. And it's going to be an absolutely special race indeed. Just a nice little bit of friendship between the Singaporeans and the Malaysians in the sim racing community. Just goes to show that outside of the battles on track, we are one big happy family in sim racing.
So we're waiting for race 2 grid, the heat 2 grid. There will be a 25 minutes race.
Absolutely, and it's, as I just glance over the little indicator to see if Michael is up and running yet.
Don't worry, he'll be automatically present in here. As you know. Okay, here's the mind the graphics. It's not round 3. Let me fix
so
that.
We haven't quite set up graphics just yet. As you know, it's practice session not only for the guys down there on track, but for us up here in the studio. The TV van needs to change its graphics.
Let me do it once more. Okay, there you go. Round 4 pula. Round 3. Michael dah masuk ke? Okay, here's the grid.
There we go.
Charlotte Roval pula. We just avoid that one.
Well, yeah. Farouz is in pole position, followed by Taufik Irshad Rejab, who's done very well indeed. He's got a lot of experience. Don't forget, he might be new to the series, but he is definitely not new to iRacing. Sharil Norafuddin is in 5th, Faiz 6th, Azam 7th, Ha 8th, Lloyd is 9th, and Afik is in 10th position. Speaking of Afik and his teammate Calvin Ha, you guys probably didn't know this, but during the previous seasons, they were 2 privately entered teams. So Calvin Ha was representing the team that he is associated with in international or Asia-wide touring car racing, which is 778 Outer Sports. They're one of the biggest teams coming out of Hong Kong. Very, very famous indeed. And not only do they compete in the Malaysian Touring Car Championship, but they're also a part of the Macau the Macau or Hong Kong and Macau championships, if I remember my series correctly. And funnily enough, he actually started testing for the season in a car that had the exact same livery as a Kia Forte he was working on. So there you go. And they joined forces with Afar Racing, Afiq Fadlan, to make a team for themselves. And it looks like he's got a little bit bogged down at the start there, but Fairuz Fazil looks to have dropped down just a little bit. But Taufik is in the lead, followed by Tunku Irshad in the other white test livery car. In second place, Sarah Norafuddin manages to get himself up into third position, followed by Fairuz, Azam, Rejab, Azril, Jai, Nazmi, Faiz, who's just lost his position in top 10 to Afiq. And Shamir, Rejab and Jai looks like they've gone off the road ever so slightly there, but there we have it. Let's have a look at the instant replay. Afizul Jai there in the middle of the pack there. He is bombing down into that back section. Big incident. Apa kata Michael?
Yo, hai. Sorry macam lambat masuk, tak sempat nak ambil race. So,
Abang
Jai terlibat
Mi
dalam
main
kemenangan.
ni je, main GTS ke?
Abang Mi sebagai pengacara jemputan dekat MSF.
Terbaik.
So, Cil miss race malam ni. Lambat
kenapa?
3 minit je.
Oh. GTS
baru
tak main
balik.
GTS?
Tak main. Tak qualified untuk pergi ke playoff.
Oh. Tak
So,
apa, kat sini
malam-
kau dah number 4.
Ya, overall.
Kau buka kat YouTube,
Alhamdulillah.
kau boleh rewind. Dekat Facebook tak boleh rewind kan. Kat YouTube nanti kau boleh rewind screenshot siap-siap. Esok kita orang publish the poster, official poster.
Okay. Nombor 1 siapa sekarang?
Nombor 1 JJ.
Nombor 2?
Nombor 2 siapa tadi ya? Nanti kau tengok balik lah.
Okay, tahniahlah
Aku
kepada
hafal.
semua pemenang dan peserta semua. So malam ni ada 2 hit ya. Sayangnya tak dapat main, tak boleh praktis. Tak sempat praktis lagi. So sekarang Taufik mendahului diikuti dengan Irsyad. So kenapa ramai tak pakai livery malam ni?
Aku rasa trading pen aku gagal ke, aku tak tahulah.
Okay,
Aku masuk pun dah start race tadi.
Ni pun kita pakaikan test livery je lah.
Ya,
Mana tahu ada body baru.
Okay, tadi Syamir pun ada problem, Jai,
Ramai
Nigel.
tak pit ni?
Mereka terlibat dalam kemenangan. Biasa memang dekat Okayama ni turn 1 dia memang macam Cil pun dulu terlibat dalam kemenangan dekat turn 1 di lap yang pertama waktu MX5. So yang ni pun nampaknya ada juga yang senasib dengan Cil.
Itulah alangkah bernasib malang sikit. Nigel Chua terpusing.
Okay, ni replay dekat turn 1. Sebab dia high speed kan, semua tengah straight line. Dah sampai ke tu misjudge brake apa semua kan. So itulah risiko di Okayama ni. Dan dia ada beberapa turn yang sangat susah nak ambil. Sebab ada yang
Okey Cil, cerita sikit ni dah start turn 1 ni. Apa cabaran dekat sini?
Okay, turn 1 ni kita nak judge braking dan kita nak ambil line, sama ada line dalam ataupun luar. So dia ada banyak preference lah. Ada orang boleh maintain line apa semua kan. So ni sampai turn yang kedua, turn yang ketiga, 4, 5 ni turn 5 ni pun sangat tricky. Kita nak sama ada nak guna gear 2 ataupun 3. 2 terlampau slow. Ada orang yang drive 2 sekejap lepas masuk 3. Ada orang yang carry speed 3 kat sini. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, turn yang ni kalau kita selalu hard braking, lama kelamaan tayar kita akan cepat habis. Kalau kita lambat sangat nanti kita kena overtake. Waktu bawa MX-5 memang mencabar lah kat sini. Bawa Kia ni pun sebab dia front wheel kan, dengan 370 horsepower. Kalau throttle delivery, throttle management kita tu kurang baik, memang akan barai. Tapi malam ni nampaknya sprint race kan. So semua all out push. Nampak nanti adalah sebentar lagi ni ada yang tak dapat tak ada traction lah apa semua. Tengok brake pun yang lebih belakang. Apa dah.
Itulah yang unik sikit pasal kereta yang kita pilih. Kita hanya pilih kereta yang brake menyala di belakang je, tuan-tuan dan puan. Just iRacing things. So pada Malaysia, apa yang bahagian paling susah untuk cuba perfectkan di Kayama ni?
Untuk Kia ni just pernah test sekali je hari tu. Waktu tu pun tak berapa pandai sangat lagi bawa, masih lembu dengan throttle. So sekarang dah gentle sikit kan, sebab kita race lama. Sekarang kita kena tengok track dan macam mana strategi kita. Tapi kalau strategi fuel saving, kebanyakannya kita boleh bawa kereta tu sampai ke habisnya dengan jaya lah. Tapi mungkin kalau kita punya strategi untuk push all the way, kita akan suffer lah di beberapa lap last sebelum kita refuel semua tu. Memang akan suffer, tire wear, heat up kau ni kan.
Itulah dengan challenge dia yang kadang di setengah tempat, setengah situasi, kalau dapatkan pace dengan tayar baru, fuel baru, mungkin ada setengah driver yang mungkin akan cuba 2 stop di dalam satu race, dan setengah driver akan cuba maintain satu stop. Bagi pendapat Malaysia, mana satu yang lagi berfaedah?
Kita tengok kena tengok leader punya pace macam mana. Sebab dalam 50 lebih racer ni, dia banyak cara masing-masing tu berbeza-beza kan. Driving skill tu berbeza-beza. Ada yang driver yang boleh maintain pace laju dengan minyak yang jimat. Ada driver yang kalau laju minyak dia kuat juga. Ada driver yang dia average, macam chill. Dia tak terlampau laju, tapi dia cuba untuk fuel saving dan to be safe lah sampai ke habis race kan. Sebab kita tahu yang kita belum sampai ke tahap alien di dalam iRacing ni. Apa yang dia buat selama ni cuma cuba untuk race dengan selamat yang mungkin lah. So bila kita push, risiko dia bertambah kan. So bila race endurance, kita kata endurance lah, 45 minit ni enduro lah bagi kita di Malaysia ni kan. Macam kita tengok MS7 40 minit tu dah kata enduro. So kita enduro ni kena banyak kita kena ada strategi lah. So sebab kita tak tahu FCY tu akan berlaku ke tak semua kan. Macam last race di mana, Charlotte Roval, kita tak agak pun ada FCR, ada FCY. So semua sorry FCR.
Dia lama sangat target. Dah lama sangat target auto house tu.
So tak target pun ada FCY. Kita cuba jimat sekali. Oh FCY, damn, kita terisi minyak lebih. Sepatutnya kita boleh jimat lagi masa beberapa saat tu untuk kita kurangkan refueling. So bendanya tak boleh dijangka. Jadi ada yang dah leading, ada yang dah top 5, top 10 80%, tapi disebabkan 80% race, tapi disebabkan FCY ada beberapa salah strategi, dia drop ke bawah. So itulah race kan. Macam-macam boleh berlaku.
Ya, dan mungkin ada salah setengah pemandu yang mungkin akan, kalau bahasa Inggeris kita kan panggil kita, dia gamble sikit lah. Mungkin dia akan pit awal, dia akan habiskan tayar, dia akan bawa pace yang lebih laju, harapkan FCY.
Itu ya, tapi kita tak sure ada FCY ke tak kan. Sebab macam Okayama ni untuk FCY mungkin kalau berlaku kemalangan pun dia tak macam Charlotte Roval, dia tak mungkin tak melibatkan banyak kereta, tapi mungkin dekat tenuan lah kalau untuk starting tu yang bahaya. Tapi kebanyakan racer bila real race dia akan behave lah dekat tenuan tu. So sebab kita race lama kan, tak nak rosak, kalau rosak rugi. So better kita start dengan selamat dan kita ada 45 minit untuk berlumba. So kenapa kita nak jadikan turn 1 di lap 1 tu finishing kan?
Itu dia, kita dapat komen daripada Piano Sofia, macam mana nak download game ni kat phone, kat PC je lah bos.
Dekat pun kalau
Kena explain as orang tak tahu macam. Tak apa. Kita kat sini as friendly as possible kan.
So memang kita tengok banyak game dekat handphone, tapi untuk iRacing ni ia adalah racing simulator yang paling hampir dengan real punya keadaan. So iRacing ni memerlukan komputer dan juga simulator rig sekurang-kurangnya macam G27 atau G29, PC yang boleh support iRacing ni, dan juga internet connection, sebab kita memang bermain berlumba dengan real sim driver yang di kawasan yang berbeza-beza. Jadi kita kalau selain official AIMC ni, kita juga ada official race di iRacing yang hampir setiap memang setiap jam ada race. Kalau kita main Liga MS5, setiap jam ada official race. So kita memang berlumba international. Kita berlumba, bukan berlumba dengan orang Malaysia saja, kita berlumba dengan orang Australia, Spanyol, Brazil, Amerika, semua tu kan. So untuk sesiapa yang minat untuk mendalami racing simulator ni, bolehlah start untuk tanya-tanya dalam AIMC ni. Kita akan cuba untuk guide kawan-kawan yang mana ada minat untuk drive. Dan juga apa yang specialnya di AIMC race ni, kita adalah campuran real racing driver, real drifter dan juga real sim driver yang memang dah lama main. Memang ada yang baru pun ada juga. So kita berbeza-beza background tapi kita bertemu di dalam iRacing. Kita ada driver yang top seperti Tengku Jan, kita ada Tengku Ezanli, kita ada Ruben Wong, Onetekko, kita ada ramai lagi. Kita ada Dominic Ang yang memang GT driver, yang bawa real kereta GT car kan. Dan kita juga ada Syamil Aizan, racer yang pernah memandu race car open di MSF. Kita ada Syaril, itu rival saya di kategori Super 1.5.
Dan jangan lupa baca Hafiz.
Dan juga kita ada Lloyd daripada Australia. Dan juga kita ada orang yang baru join iRacing ni, bermula daripada PKP hari tu. Macam kita ada Nazmi, kita ada siapa tu, Tengku Isyad, kita ada ramai lagi lah yang Afiq, Afar ni dah lama. Macam Azrin memang dah lama dalam sim racing. Jazrin, Syaful semua ni. Kita ada Azam orang lama.
Macam rookie of the season 1 itu siapa? Eddie Adrian baru datang kan?
Eddie Adrian. So dia start waktu PKP dan dia memang push dia punya training hari-hari, dan dia pun dapat sekarang ni mostly race dia orang dapat top 10 atau top 20 So itulah, tak ada limitation. Tak semestinya hanya real racer saja yang boleh buat simulator ni. Kalau anda betul-betul minat, betul-betul put effort, training semua, dia akan dapat dia punya ganjaran dia.
Dan itu kita nak menaikkan tumpuan ataupun profil Eddie Adrian tu sikit, sebab dia pun bukan daripada dunia real racers ataupun sim racer ataupun mana-mana pun. Dia pun join AIMC ni sebagai peminat perlumbaan, peminat motorsport.
Betul.
Dan lama-lama dia fokuskan diri dia belajar teknik-teknik cara perlumbaan yang betul, dan dia practice dan practice.
Betul. Kalau
malam.
ikutkan Michael sendiri pun berlatih dengan teammate Michael. First kali kita banyak tanya dengan Jeb, dengan Paduka, dengan Ilham, dengan Saiful Arifin. Memang kena banyak bertanya sebab kita untuk belajar ni kita kena kurangkan ego kita. Sebab mereka dah lama dalam dunia sim racing ni. So mereka tahu macam mana nak tackle, macam mana nak laju, macam mana nak selamat kan. Pada permulaan memang Michael agak kecewa dengan iRacing ni sebab sangat susah. Tapi lepas tu dapat feel balik jadi komentator, lepas tu geram tengok orang ni lumba semua kan. So slowly tukar mindset Michael yang kalau in real life Michael memang go for win. Tapi dalam ni kita sedar yang kita orang baru, kita nak belajar, kita kena buang air dalam cawan tu dulu untuk kita penuh dengan ilmu yang baru. Dan saya dapat rasakan yang simulator ni iRacing ni kalau kita belajar dengan betul, kita boleh praktikkan dekat dunia real sekali. So dia sebab dalam simulator ni kita boleh try and error. Kita boleh try macam ni. Masuk corner hard braking macam ni, tapi keluar corner kita cuba full throttle, jadi apa. So from time to time kita akan dapat cara dia macam mana nak tackle corner. So bila kita go to the real life, kita pergi track day atau race, benda tu membantu sedikit sebanyak. Kita dah ada teori dalam kepala tu, apa yang kita kena buat kalau macam ni, kalau jadi understage ni apa kita kena buat. Kita kena break awal, kita kena lepas throttle, kita kena throttle gentle. Benda tu memang membantu lah pada Cil.
Dan bukan saja pada Baja Hafiz ataupun siapa-siapa lain, bukan saja di tahap Dominic Ang dan Ruben Wong, tapi juga di tahap yang setinggi di dalam motorsport. Simulator ni sebenarnya adalah sebuah alat yang agak penting di dalam dunia motorsport pada masa sekarang ni. For instance, kalau kita tengok champion F1 pada beberapa last season, Lewis Hamilton, dia pun banyak mementingkan masa di dalam simulator untuk belajar dan training juga. So itulah dia dua, boleh kira kita punya take away, kita punya lesson daripada benda ni adalah dua sebenarnya. Simulator ni adalah suatu alat yang akan bagus untuk real life racer dan juga sim racers untuk belajar cara betul nak pergi berlumba dan untuk improvekan teknik. Dan lagi satu pun, tak kisah di mana tahap anda di dalam dunia motorsport, sampailah tahap Lewis Hamilton ataupun Michael Schumacher, diorang akan sentiasa belajar. Kita improve sebab
banyak sifu-sifu pun cakap walaupun kita dah rasa dia hebat, tapi dia still belajar sebab berjuta kemungkinan yang boleh berlaku dalam track tu kan. Sebab track tu luas, cornernya banyak. Kadang-kadang hari ni kita ambil line yang macam ni, kadang kita facing problem macam ni, kita facing driver yang macam ni. So dia punya kebarangkalian tu memang besar gila. So macam-macam situasi boleh berlaku. Jadi kita belajar. So macam saya rasa simulator ni adalah essential item yang setiap racer pada zaman sekarang ni kena ada.
Ya, betul. Dan itulah macam beberapa sifu saya di dalam dunia rally dan dunia sukan pemotoran selalu beritahu nasihat, hari yang kamu berhenti belajar ialah hari kamu patutnya berhenti berlumba. So maksudnya, if you the day you stop learning is the day you should stop racing. Maksudnya kalau setiap hari mesti kena improve, mesti kena lagi better yourself, improvekan diri, dan cara itulah jadi juara di dalam perlumbaan ni, di dalam dunia sukan pemotoran ataupun sukan mana-mana pun. Tunggu minum.
Okay, Nigel Chua ni dia dapat sportsmanship award for round 3 yang baru lepas tu. So kita, what's the criteria of the sportsmanship award ni? Matt.
Okay, the sportsmanship award is an award that we give out to for every race to the competitor who shows an outstanding level of sportsmanship and fair play in every race. Kalau kita tengok dekat nota aku kat atas ni.
Kenapa macam tak dapat?
Actually, kau try 0 incident tapi top 5. Boleh? Cuba je dulu.
Kita cuba.
Tak pun top 10 lah, top 10 pun boleh. Alah, baru sebut dah kena touching.
Tak.
Practice race ni kita boleh faham pula. Mungkin dia cuba lain.
Semua tengah cari limit, semua tengah cari macam mana nak overtake, macam mana nak lebih safe kan. So practice race ni biasalah berlaku macam ni.
Itu dia. Tapi kita kalau nak translatekan balik daripada corakan saya di kertas ni, so sebenarnya bahasa saya berkomentar ni, saya ada berapa banyak nota yang dekat meja saya, tapi sebiji macam Murray Walker yang komentator famous F1 tu yang zaman dulu, memang jarang aku nampak nota ni. Tetapi nak ringkaskan sikit, Sportsmanship Award ni untuk driver yang menunjukkan kemahiran tinggi dan menunjukkan yang dia boleh main mengikut peraturan dan dengan sensibility, common sense dan mengelakkan insiden. So itu dia.
Ya, seperti yang semua sedia maklum yang ramai orang anggap benda ni game. So bila ada mindset yang macam tu, orang akan rasa yang ni game je lah, tak apa lah langgar. Tapi sebenarnya semua racer di dalam AIMC ni cuba sedaya upaya untuk mengelakkan aksiden yang teruk. Sebab bila terjadi ni aksiden ni, dia akan sama ada dia punya race yang akan rosak ataupun race yang orang lain yang dilanggar tu akan rosak. So semuanya praktis tu yang rasanya hari-hari diorang praktis untuk race yang ni. Jadi kita tak nak merosakkan mood, merosakkan apa kita dah usaha selama seminggu. Tu kan.
Itu dia.
So tapi macam yang kita sedia maklum, racing ni bukan main bola jaring kan. Shit happen, orang kata, orang putih kata shit happen. Jadi itu kita dapat elakkan. Masing-masing faham memang setiap racer ni kenapa dia jadi racer. Racer ni ada satu keunikan. Dia rasa nak menang, dia ada ego yang tinggi kan. Tapi macam mana dia kawal ego dia tu, macam tu lah. Itulah rasa yang mungkin pihak Adrenaline Impact judge kot.
Cil, satu lagi kan pasal iRacing ni kan. Once kita dah start, kalau lah orang tu start semata-mata nak join AIMC, sebenarnya dia readykan diri dia untuk masuk official race tau. Kalau dia follow regulation kita memang akan ikut iRacing punya, walaupun kita tak ada points rating ikut official. Tapi apa yang kita buat, yang kita preparekan dorang supaya bersedia untuk terima padahnya kalau buat aggressive racing ke apa tu, secara tindakan melulu ke apa kan. So benda tu bila kita praktiskan dalam official races, memang boleh naikkan level. Kau daripada rookie naik ke ni berapa hari je Cil nak naik? Daripada rookie ke D?
Ambil masa dalam seminggu atau 2 jugalah. Sebab Cil waktu tu cuba untuk adapt benda ni. Sebenarnya tak diterima pun iRacing ni mula-mula. Jadi tapi kita cuba sebab waktu rookie senang nak menang. Sebab kita memang kita ada basic, kita berlumba dengan orang yang baru main iRacing. Dan rookie juga kita tak tolak apa tu iRating. iRacing ke iRacing tak tolak. So dia hanya safety rating saja kan yang dia ni. So waktu tu kita dah start main dan kita dah dapat cara macam mana nak bawa. So ada beberapa kali lah podium nombor 1. Jadi bila dah masuk lesen B, dia dah start susah sikit. So sekarang masih sangkut dekat lesen B sebab dah lama tak main official.
Cepat-cepat
race.
Cil naik C Cil. Kita season 3 ada pengumuman ni. At least D 3.0.
Ya, kita cuba sebabnya sekarang dah lepas PKP. Masa tu dah tak macam waktu PKP kan.
Yelah.
Memang tak ada masa sebenarnya sebab okey, race hari Ahad. Hari Sabtu mungkin bawa family jalan. Hari Jumaat ada pre-race. Tapi hari yang sebelum tu kadang-kadang kita kerja sampai malam. Lepas tu ada training lagi. So dulu memang boleh 8 jam dekat iRacing sehari. Tapi sekarang mungkin dah jadi 2 jam sehari ataupun sejam. Ada hari tu memang tak buka langsung. Jadi harap pihak Rd3 Impact boleh pertimbangkan benda tu lah. Tapi memang bagus juga untuk kita ada satu certain level yang boleh masuk race kita ni. Tapi jangan ketat sangat lah, come on lah kan.
Kita nak orang perbaikan diri juga untuk iRacing juga.
Ya, kita faham sebab
mana tahu bila quality kita naik macam ni, iRacing feature kat kita dalam official race, dia ada official live stream, live punya events tau. Dia akan mention event yang broadcastkan iRacing ni. So satu target kita lah nak ke sana jugalah. So bila kita nak macam tu, kita kena improve quality jugalah kan.
Okay, dah tamat dah perlumbaan. Apa hal tu?
Saiful Arifin ni dah mungkin dia dah happy juga yang dapat result yang bagus. Tetapi tengoklah itu, Tengku Irsyad dapat menang daripada
tak ada kerja.
Tak ada kerja. Misai Misai tu dia ke?
Mustaqil apa?
He is the man with the mustache. Tapi macam saya pun terfikir juga mungkin my entry untuk Rd3 Impact punya competition. So try to beat this. The cars are virtual but the racing is real.
The cars are virtual but banyak sangat. Boleh lah consider.
Tahniah kepada Syaril Nafudin juga. Dia dah lama tak podium tu.
Dapat juga. So kita ada baseline untuk competition pada hari ini. Cuba buat tagline yang lagi cantik, lagi menarik dan lagi mantap.
Okay, mungkin kalau dapat tagline terbaik, kita boleh hadiahkan satu cap todak untuk diorang. Siapa dapat buat tagline terbaik kan.
Sebab tagline ni akan kekal tau untuk AIMC nya branding. So bersejarah untuk diri sendiri lah juga kan. Boleh bangga. Itu apa yang tulis dulu. Kalau lah AIMC ni boleh tahan sampai 20 tahun ke apa, insyaAllah.
Sekarang ni dia ada positif punya perkembangan kan. So ramai, makin bertambah penyertaan dan mungkin nanti AIMC terpaksa buat split 2 race ke kan. So sekarang ialah result untuk race hit yang kedua, round 4 test. Tempat pertama dimenangi oleh Tengku Irsyad, tempat kedua Syaril Noafuddin, tempat ketiga Taufik Tahir, tempat ketiga Jazrin Jali. Ini dia start last, dia dapat nombor 4. Nombor 5 Loglin, nombor 6 Afiq Fadlan, nombor 7 Faiz Azlan, nombor 8 Kelvin Hah, nombor 9 Syaful Arifin, nombor 10 Fairuz Fazil, nombor 11 Nazmi Mazli, nombor 12 Azam Azni, nombor 13 Najir Chua, nombor 14 Afizul Jai, nombor 15 Azrin Nazli, nombor 16 Syamir Aizan dan nombor 17 Syawal Rejab. Syawal Rejab ni dia comeback selepas 2 tahun bercuti.
So nampaknya masih ada bakat komentar lagi daripada Macam Hafiz, belum lagi terlepas apa-apa lagi ya.
Thank you bagi ruang untuk Maicil mencelah di
Rindulah suara
sesi
Maicil
malam
kat
ni.
sini. Dia dah
Aduh.
fokus lah. Tapi tanya Acil kita tengok tadi top 4 dalam top 10 championship ni.
Alhamdulillah. Tapi Cil punya teammate Ilham nombor berapa sekarang?
Jom kita tengok balik. Boleh sekejap aku buka sekejap lah.
Jom kita tengok sebelum
Tahu
kita
siapa yang terlepas tadi sesi yang mula-mula tadi. Boleh. Jom kita tengok bersama dengan Alang. Championship
Okey, sekejap.
point.
Kita pergi ke ni dulu. Kita pergi ke sekejap
adjustkan VT VCR kita.
Rewind sekejap. Okey, sekejap Okey, ni podium. Okey, Maicil cuba bagi komentari dalam bahasa Melayu. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okey, ini adalah juara kita tempat pertama, kedua dan ketiga. Tempat pertama dimenangi oleh Ilham Halabi daripada Toda Motorsport. Tempat kedua Arif Roslan daripada SSAD Go Racing Gen Y. Dan tempat ketiga Kelvinder Singh daripada Android King Toda SSAD. Tahniah kepada semua yang menang pada race yang lepas ni di Charlotte Roval round 3.
Dan apakah diorang menang sebagai hadiah untuk perlumbaan itu?
Ya, untuk tempat pertama mendapat voucher daripada Precision Racing yang membekalkan barang-barang racing simulator yang berkualiti. Dan kita juga tempat kedua membawa pulang voucher RM50 daripada Works Engineering, company yang sangat popular di Malaysia dan serata dunia, yang membekalkan part performance untuk kereta-kereta yang selalu kita nampak ada modified semua kan. So tempat ketiga kita ada voucher RM50 daripada Android King. Android King ni pun adalah satu company yang membekalkan barangan-barangan simulator daripada entry level sampailah ke level yang profesional.
Okey, Precision Sim Racing ni dia punya target dia kebanyakannya beginner to medium lah dekat equipment dia. Ada pedal, ada butt kicker, ada steering fan attack kan. So dia di owner dia ialah Kevin Haas sendiri yang racing dalam AIMC ni. Thank you sangat support AIMC. Untuk Works juga, Maicil sangat lama sejarah dengan Works. Apa Works-nya item Cil yang biasa orang beli?
Okey, paling popular barangan Works ni ialah fuel regulator dia. Fuel regulator dia lifetime warranty. Kalau jadi apa-apa kat regulator tu, bawa pergi Works, dia orang akan repair ataupun ganti one to one.
Itu dia. Pada saya pun dalam experience kami di Formula, di dalam real world of motorsports ni, kita pun kebanyakan akan memakai Works Engineering Regulator. Saya pun boleh jaminkan kualiti dia orang memang top.
Ada stage by stage je kan?
Dia ada stage 1 dengan stage 2. Dia ada yang boleh cover sampai 300 horse dan satu lagi boleh cover sampai 1000 horse ke 800 horse, lebih kurang macam tu.
Dia punya ketahanan pressure dia tu lah.
Betul.
Okay, kita move on to the next slide.
Wow.
Baca kan Cil?
Okay, ini adalah cumulative point sampai setakat round yang lepas. Tempat pertama didahului oleh Jazrin Jali daripada Auto House FCR Performance Team A. Tempat kedua Ilham Halabi daripada Toda Motorsport. Ni teammate Maicil dan dia juga adalah Sifu Maicil. Ketiga kita ada Dominic Ang daripada Team URT Black. Dominic Ang ni salah seorang real racer yang berprofil tinggi. Dia memang bawa kat overseas-nya. So nombor 4 kita ada Muhammad Hafiz Kamarudin.
Kenal je dia.
Tanya kepada diri sendiri. Okey, mendapat 54 poin. Dan seterusnya kita ada Robin Wong, Team URT Pink. Ini idola Maicil ni. Dia adalah seorang racer dia juga adalah seorang race engineer dan memiliki Tekko. Tempat ke-6 kita ada Zafri Zainuddin. Ni juga Sifu Maci juga dalam sim racing dan dia juga adalah kawan dalam real life daripada Todak Motorsport Asia. Tahniah Jeb. Tempat ke-7 kita ada Afizul Jai daripada Android King Todak SSD. Ni toke Android King. Bos Android King ni. Tahniah Jai. Jai pun pernah datang ke tempat Macil beberapa kali. Dan nombor 8 kita ada Arif Roslan daripada SSAD Go Racing Gen Y. Ni orang kuat SSAD ni. Dan kita nombor 9 kita ada Nazmi Mazli daripada Padawan SRC Team B. Nazmi ni pun sama-sama dengan Michael starting iRacing ni waktu PKP. Dan dia pun dah dapat adapt, dia pun dah upgrade device dia pakai track IR semua. Kita nampak kemajuan dia kan. Dan kita ada nombor 10 kita ada Eddie Adrian, pemenang rookie of the season last season daripada tim Padawan SRCA. Tahniah kepada semua.
Dan jom kita tengok, kalau saya tengok daripada sini pun gap daripada antara setiap pelumba agak dekat lagi. Ilham Labi masih ada peluang untuk mendapatkan posisi pertama. Hafiz sendiri pun ada peluang nak masuk ke dalam top 3 dan daripada posisi 6 sampai posisi 10 tu di dalam lingkaran 10 mata. Kalau tak silap 5 mata, 4 mata. Fighto semua ni. Ini yang kita suka tengok ni. Fighto yang dekat.
Tak menang mudah, tak kalah mudah lah.
Ya.
Wow, ini this is amazing. Cik tak dapat tengok tadi live sebab tengah drive on the way balik. So tak tahu yang Todak Motorsport tengah leading. Kena ambil gambar sekejap bagi bos. Dia minta bos makan kambing ni.
Jemputlah kami sekali.
Okay, mesti jemput punya. Kita di Todak kita semua sama. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, ini adalah kedudukan untuk team championship. Todak Motorsport mendahului carta sekarang dengan 125 poin, diikuti dengan Auto Horse FCR Performance Team A hanya 8 mata di belakang. Dan juga tempat ketiga Todak Motorsport Asia dengan 80 poin, diikuti rapat dengan beberapa tim dekat bawah tu. Tim URT Pink, Android King, SSAD Todak, Padawan, SSAD Go Racing Gen Y, tim URT Black. Maknanya championship ni masih terbuka luas. Semua orang berpeluang sekarang ni.
Ya, itu dia. So, kita shout out sikit dekat Club Automobilista Hermanos Veloces yang memberi masa kepada kami untuk tolong di round ketiga. So thanks to Kelvin D from Club Automobilista Hermanos Veloces.
Cil, ada benda menarik kat sini Cil. Kau tengok position 7 SSAD Go Racing Gen Y. Dia baru dapat score point dalam 1 ke 2 round kebelakangan ni kan.
Okay.
So kau tengok daripada Gen Y ni rasanya round 1 tak ada point langsung. Round
betul,
tu dia dah ada Arif kan, Arif Roslan. Lepas tu Adi pun tak dapat nak score points. Lepas tu round 3 ni yang paling banyak diorang score points.
Okay.
So dah dapat top 10 lah.
Oh, pantas ni. So tim-tim ke atas tu jangan terlampau selesa. Korang kena start strategi yang baik-baik. Start practice. Pastikan clean race dan kita sama-sama berjuang lah kan. Memang adat biasa ada menang ada kalah, tapi jangan sampai berlaku apa-apa perkara yang tak diingini.
Nak tanya korang juga viewers, kalau berminat dengan cara Kelvin T dan hari ni punya feedback, hari ni punya post race punya format, kita rasa kita nak kekalkan lah sebagai macam tu supaya lebih positivity dan lebih membina lagi Najal
Okay ni?
Tak,
faham.
kalau kau tak tengok post race hari ni.
Tengok tapi tak full sebab tengah drive tadi.
Okey, post race hari ni kita ada buat perubahan yang mendadak. Kita tak ada tunjuk langsung klip protes. Kita sebaliknya kita tunjuk yang baik-baik je. Namanya tazkirah.
Sebab bila kita tunjukkan mungkin sebab kita cuba benda ni untuk improvise kan. Mungkin pada permulaan kita nak direct tegur, tapi mungkin benda tu akan melukakan hati pihak yang berkenaan. Jadi baguslah kalau kita buat yang benda macam ni. Jadi orang tahu, orang tak terluka. So kita dapat berjaga hati banyak pihak, tapi dalam masa sama kita mengajar apa yang sepatutnya diorang buat. Kan?
Dan kami pun bagi pihak saya sendiri pun merasai yang kita dah mencukupi kuota untuk kes-kes bagi paduka. Sekarang kita ada seperti library untuk kita boleh tengok yang race-race belakang ni sebagai reference untuk mungkin ada siapa-siapa driver yang baru ataupun yang nak masuk season 3, dia boleh tengok dan dia boleh tengok apa standard AIMC dalam perlombaan ni. So kita pun dah ada bagi perasaan saya kecukupan kes-kes di belakang ni. So pada masa kehadapan kita akan tengok dengan cara apa yang boleh kira review format.
Betul.
Okay, Matt. So we've reached the end of the stream. Please do your honors.
Okay, so a very special thanks to everyone who's been involved in this broadcast. A special thanks to our director Khairul Alam, to our chief steward Paduka Shoaib Hassan, and last but not least, a very special thanks to our guest commentators who've helped me a great deal through round 3. Special thanks to Kelvin T of the Hermanos Veloces team for subbing out for Chan Wei Han. That was absolutely fantastic. As well as with our old friend here, Michael Hafiz.
Yo, thank you very much.
And also a special thanks to our sponsors, Works Engineering, Lucas Oil, Precision Sim Racing, Android King, and our supporters, the Motorsports Association of Malaysia, along with all of our supporters in the background as well. And a special message there from Teguh Irsyad. Saya suka positivity dan pengaduhan.
Dari pergaduhan dan pula. Jangan salah baca.
Pergaduhan.
Dari pergaduhan. Kalau sebut dan.
Thank you to Kelvin T. Dia memberikan satu positif, membawa positiveness kepada kita punya community. Terima kasih banyak.
Saya akan cuba balik bacakan message tu. Saya suka positivity dari pergaduhan. Saya setuju mengenal format Kelvin T. Make peace, not drama. Tengku Irsyad, thanks a lot for commenting. That is our ways. And again, a very special thanks to everyone involved. My name has been Matt Palmer, and we will see you all in the next broadcast. But for now, Tora.
Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Matt from Interformula, and welcome to our Research and Development Centre. We do all forms of research and development, all the way from designing and developing our own race cars to simulators to running cars in racing series and rallying all over the world. We also do a lot in the Asian Classic Car Championship, so do look out for us. For any information, do contact us with the number down below.